Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and this is how to use Lycanroc's Midnight Form. So, pretty much we're dealing with the same thing as the Midday Form when it comes to the typing pure Rock-type Pokemon, which means that defensively we're going to have quite a few weaknesses. So we have Fighting, Ground, Steel, Water, and Grass weaknesses, and then we resist Normal, Flying, Poison, and Fire. So we can kind of compare that with our offensive coverage, that offensively we have a lot of super effective hits as well, that we hit Bug, Fire, Flying, and Ice super effective, and then we are resisted by Fighting, Ground, and Steel. So with Rock-type Pokemon, we deal and receive a lot of super effective hits. I mean, like, Fire, Flying, and Ice is going to be really good coverage overall, and then it's kind of balanced, but on, like, the really high end of the spectrum. And then looking at these stats for Lycanroc's Midnight Form, this is where we start having some problems, because we have Midday Form. Midday Form is a 112 base speed Pokemon. That is really good. Lycanroc's Midnight Form is going to be an 82 base speed Pokemon. That's not that great, especially when you look at the hit points and defenses. 85 on the hit points, 75 on defense, 75 on the special defense. We aren't going to do anything. Like, we're going to get outsped and then just straight up die. Unless we're, like, full health invested, but then we're just going to get outspeed and then we just die. So that's kind of like where I'm feeling a lot of problems for Lycanroc's Midnight Form. It's just a little too slow. It was like, okay, let's take 30 points out of speed and put 10 into hit points, defense, and special defense compared to the Midday Form, and then you get the Midnight Form. Problem is, the Midday Form wasn't takey to begin with, and the Midnight Form doesn't really get much out of it either, so there's not too much to do. And then 115 attack just isn't good. That there's no really big one-hit KO ranges neutrally, that there's a lot of damage boosting that's required, and it doesn't really get us too far. So that's why I was kind of looking at Lycanroc's Midday Form. I said, alright, Midday Form's best form. You just have more speed. You can just do a little bit more than the Lycanroc Midnight Form. Let's go and see where the differences are, because with the Midnight Form, we can see that we have some other stuff. So Counter instead of Accelerock. I'm not sure how to feel about that. We are slower, but I don't know if we're really tanky enough to justify it. Like, I guess we can cheese one counter. So we see a big physical attacking Pokemon. We use counter, we take them out, and then we die to the next Pokemon that comes in. That's about it. Reversal is also really interesting. All-out attack that becomes more powerful the less hit points user has. It works on fast Pokemon because fast Pokemon can go like Focus Sash, outspeed into insane amounts of damage, but we're not even getting stabbed. So at low to mid ranges, we're going to be doing more damage out of our Stone Edge than we are with our Reversal, and at 1 hit points, it's going to be like the counter. Okay, we get dropped down to 1 hit points on a Focus Sash, we use Reversal, we score a KO, and then we die anyways. So I guess we could maybe use the Reversal kind of like a Mirror Coat, in that it's going to just be enough damage, hopefully. And that's kind of all that we got to say about it. Other than that, not really varied coverage. That we get Rock, we get some Rock, we can do some Rock stuff. Hey, there's a Brick Break, and that's just Rock, Rock, and Rock. So pretty much, other than these two moves right here on the counter and the reversal, it is going to be same as the Lycanroc Midday Form on the coverage. That will run like Crunch, and then we'll Stone Edge, and then that's kind of it, and maybe we can Rock Slide or Snarl for the double. So let's just go straight into Pokemon Showdown, and this is kind of all I'm seeing right here is that, okay, effectively it's the same thing as the Midday Form, except that instead of putting speed investment, we get a little bit more damage. That we can run the Adamant Nature, alright. We get Adamant Nature since we know everything's outspeeding us anyways, we max out the hit points, and then we are this. So I don't even think Lycanroc Midnight Form works as a good wall-breaking Pokemon either. That you have Pokemon that are slightly faster, that do more damage or have better setup, or at least are a little tankier overall, like Mimikyu. Mimikyu is just going to be a much better wall-breaking setup Pokemon than the Lycanroc Midnight Form, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I'm just thinking we get the most out of it without leftovers. We try to bulk up, and we take a hit, we bulk up. If they're a physical attacker, maybe we survive a little better, and then we one-shot them on the Stone Edge. The only really good thing that Lycanroc gets is the No Guard, kind of. Like, No Guard just means, okay, my Stone Edge is always going to land, but if they also have some, like, low accuracy move, then that is always going to land as well. I just feel like the only thing we really have to worry about is the Hydro Pump. So if we saw a Hydro Pump, we're pretty much dead anyways. I'd rather not gamble on, like, the, you know, accuracy of a Hydro Pump. It's like, oh, if I stay in and there's that small chance that it misses, I'm surviving anyways. So the No Guard kind of plays into Lycanroc's favor because, alright, at least Stone Edge. Now we have an Earthquake level of damage. You know, 100 base power, that's always going to hit because of it, and it gets stabbed, so that's a good amount of damage with that high critical hit ratio. That could actually work out pretty well. Unfortunately, just the coverage for Rock-type Pokemon, if you're like a Mono Rock, you don't really get too much. Rock Slide is very low power, and then also has that accuracy issue. Stone Edge, better power, but low accuracy as well. So that will cause some problems right there. And then I don't really know what else to say. Like, fortunately, one-hit KO moves aren't used too often, so the no guard might not be too bad right there. Then it's Crunch for coverage, maybe Sucker Punch, but that's too much Dark, so maybe Brick Break or whatever other move you want to do. As I kind of showed earlier, we don't really have too much else to run. You can maybe use the Facade. That way, if you get burned or status in some way, you can kind of turn it into a little bit of an advantage. That way, with the Facade, well, you're doubling that damage to 140, so it's close to a neutral Stone Edge, just slightly under that damage, but if you're burned, then you're just going to be doing more damage anyways. And then we can also go and look at some other ways of running the Lycanroc. You get Rock Polish, so maybe you can turn that around into some speed stuff. So interestingly enough, we can actually play around with the speed quite a bit on the Lycanroc. At level 50, which is going to be like the standard online DS kind of play, if we are doubling our speed off of the Rock Polish, then we'll be able to outspeed Pokemon like Tapu Koko. So if we see a Timid or a Jolly Tapu Koko, whatever they're running, pretty much 130 base speed Pokemon. If we have 130 base speed Pokemon with that investment into nature, we will outspeed it after a Rock Polish at 0 right there. But if we go into 148, that means we can outspeed Scarf Pokemon up to 95 base speed. So Scarf Chomp is still going to outspeed us. My thought on Scarf Chomp is we have no coverage for it. Scarf Chomp is just going to wreck us because we have no coverage for it. So we might as well go for like the 95 range. There's Pokemon like Silvally, so we'll at least be able to outspeed the Silvally if it's Scarf after we go and set up one of those Rock Polishes. That means our range is going to be something like this. So still tanky. Just trying to get a little bit of like min-max and trying to edge out any kind of potential shenanigans that we might see on that speed. But overall, 115 attack, that's kind of it. Counter is a thing. Like, I don't necessarily say that you have to run Rock Polish and Counter together. I'm just saying it could really work out if you somehow, like, your opponent goes for setup. Boom. Free Rock Polish right there. That's going to be really nice. And then you could also maybe counter later on. So the hope is that you're tanky enough to get it counter and then be faster than your opponent and then maybe convert off the Stone Edge or something like that. If you don't want to run the counter, then you can always run the Stealth Rocks. So you can Rock Polish, then Stealth Rock, outspeed into that, use Stone Edge, Crunch, go down. So it's like a free Stealth Rocks with some potential maybe damage that if you are faster and you are bulky, if you get the right matchups and that Lycanroc is going to be like a 3-hit KO Pokemon, well, Stealth Rocks, trading for setup, Stone Edge, that's a KO, you take damage, and then you go down. So you 1-for-1 plus a Stealth Rocks, maybe on the Lycanroc, but a lot of Pokemon can kind of do that. Just almost any rock Pokemon that can do some kind of sturdy setup, they can maybe trade for a Stealth Rocks, they can Custap Explosion when Custap Berry becomes available. So Lycanroc doesn't do anything special, and it's still just really frail, like very surprisingly frail, like 85, 75, that's the KO range that normally very fast and frail sweepers have, but Lycanroc just kind of has that when it's meant to be a little tankier. I mean, it has the counter. Game Freak is like, hey, you're supposed to take a hit, and you don't want to take a hit on the Lycanroc. That was looking at some other things. We have maybe doubles, Rock Tomb to slow down your opponent, Snarl to lower their special attack, Sucker Punch to cheese out a hit, and then Stone Edge for the damage. I was thinking Vital Spirit is also, actually, like, at least the thing about Lycanroc is all of the abilities are viable. Keen Eye stops Double Team, stops all those accuracy shenanigans. If Sleep becomes a big part of the meta, like people just start running a lot of Spore, Vital Spirit could be something to use. And then No Guard if you just want to get the most reliable damage on your Stone Edge. So let's go over and check out some damage calculations. So say they switch out against our Lycanroc for some reason and we get a free Rock Polish. I guess that's kind of like, if we already have Rock Polish and somehow have full hit points at the same time, then we'll be able to outspeed, land a Stone Edge. Wild Charge does a lot of damage, but we still have like a 62% chance to survive that. And then we do a Stone Edge and KO. But it just kind of shows, this is full hit point invested. Full hit point invested Pokemon should be able to survive more than just a Wild Charge. And I know that Electric Terrain is still up. I mean, still 2-hit KO'd on that Wild Charge. Actually, if Wild Charge is doing that much damage, I guess Tapu Koko outspeeds us, takes Recoil, and then Stone Edge finishes it off? You know, like, the matchups get weird. I'm just kind of showing with those 130 outspeeds, we can do something. Like, at least against a Crobat, Crobat will go down to that because at least Crobat is a flying type Pokemon. So super effective hits work. Like, if we're outspeeding those fast flying types, yeah, that could work out. But against the Greninja, I think we're going to have much less good results. Yes, less good is something I just said right there. Like the Scald. It doesn't even matter with the No Guard. Yeah, I guess that's a good thing about the No Guard. Hydro Pump, well, Scald or Surf was already killing us anyways. So we outspeed, we do some damage, but it's not enough. We can't really afford to run the Life Orb. That's why I'm thinking, well, we can just go with the leftovers. I'm thinking, like, is it possible, is it feasible to run Life Orb on the setup set. Like, I have the Citrus Berry for a little bit of health, but if we're running the Life Orb, that does change the numbers around, and it does find us, like, a very low in KO range, but it means, like, we're taking, yeah, okay, so we can KO the Greninja, which means we outspeed, and we take out, like, 70 Pokemon. So some of the most frail Pokemon in the game will actually go down to us. I think Greninja is like one of the only cases where that would actually matter for the Life Orb or something. Maybe we could run the Rock Plate, or what is it called? Stone Plate? Stone Plate gives us that little bit of damage, but I think like we cannot take any more recoil than we need to off of this. So maybe that could work out on the Lycanroc, like you get set up and then you Rock Polish and then you try to get some damage on the Stone Edge, and maybe you cheese something out, and if they think they can gamble into your no guard with the Stone Edge, you might win a surprise matchup or something. But with the Stone Plate, how does that change? So 80% chance KO. I'll kind of take that into a Greninja if we already have like full health Rock Polish set up, or even if we have just any Rock Polish, because we don't have to worry at that point. So the Rock Polish setup, like if Lycanroc was any tankier or a little bit more damage, I would feel a lot better about it. This is still like quite the gamble because there's just going to be hits that will overwhelm us and will be crazy. Salazzle, we actually can come in on Salazzle and do pretty well, like Salazzle, Rock Polish, one shot it with the Stone Edge. So if Salazzle is giving people problems, that could be a Pokemon we can use since we resist it. We like dual resist it, which is pretty nice. So Salazzle does just struggle against those rock type Pokemon. I don't really know what else we can say about that. Then we can go into some other Pokemon like Toxapex. Toxapex's liquidation is just enough to go and ruin us, even with that hit point invested. So, yeah, it's too tanky for us to do damage with the Stone Edge, and then the liquidation is just going to be big. Now, I guess if we have the Stone Plate and we're, like, neutral, but the problem is, alright, it hits us, and it has Sustain. We don't have Sustain, we lose in the long run, and it still has more damage than us. Yeah, so even against like tank Pokemon throwing out weak-ish super effective hits, we don't really have many ways of surviving. Like I would have liked to see, you know, 90-90. We could have gotten like a 90-90 on the 85 hit points. I think that would make a better difference. Actually, still not really. Like, yeah, you need to start becoming like just a really disgustingly tanky Pokemon. I'm guessing we just compare Lycanroc to other rock types. You know, there's probably tankier Pokemon that rock polish a little better, and then it's just going to be GG right there. So let me just go and look up rock type Pokemon. Okay, maybe I didn't give Midnight Form enough credit. Like, it does seem to have some speciality that other rock type Pokemon don't have, mostly that 87 on the speed. Like I was looking like, okay, what about other contending rock polish Pokemon? Well, 75 on the special attack is actually pretty decent for rock types apparently, which is kind of sad to think about. Aerodactyl does come close, like it has slightly less attack, and we talked about this with the midday form. That 105 attack and 115 attack, there's not really much of a difference there. You're not finding any more one-hit KOs than you're not finding. Everything is a two-hit KO, so it's just better to have that natural built-in speed. But yeah, like nothing really gets high amounts of special defense and over 80 speed for rock type Pokemon, but I don't think that matters. Like maybe that's just a weakness in the rock typing itself, and maybe not with like Lycanroc and other comparable Pokemon that are rock types, because it's just the bad coverage that there's other rock type Pokemon that can at least get the Earthquake and do something about it. Like Terrakion, that's a 91, 90, 90, and then a 108. So if Lycanroc was just like kind of close to that, like 90 or 85, 85, 85, but then we just kind of showed that that doesn't have enough tankiness already. So you need more hit points, you need more stats, and then you're going to be able to get the rock polish, and then you find the outspeeds. So maybe for like rock polish into 130 outspeed kind of Pokemon, Lycanroc is a little special compared to other rock types, but then the coverage just isn't there. That it's, you go Stone Edge, hope for the best, don't get a KO, and then hope you don't die. So maybe that's just like a failing right there of just the idea of the Pokemon, and maybe not as much of a problem for the Pokemon itself. But yeah, apparently it has good speed and average, slightly above average special defense maybe for other rock type Pokemon, but then it falls flat on the defenses, so it just doesn't have any excel points. At least with other rock type Pokemon, bring against physical attacker, and that's going to be pretty solid right there. But there we go, guys. Lycanroc's Midnight Form. I think it still seems usable, that maybe that Rock Polish can find something if you are going for setup, if you are going for that Stealth Rock, so you try to make something happen. But other than that, it just seems like a fairly average Pokemon. That's about it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.